Well, joining us tonight is Jessica Anderson, Executive Director of Heritage Action. Jessica, great to see you again. Let's get right to it. It seems every time we think we've seen the end of it, there are more classified documents that just keep on popping up. Your thoughts and concerns about all of this?
Good evening, Tracy. It's great to be with you as well. You know, I think the first question that this Congress actually needs to ask is, at what point did the Department of Justice become was it made known to them that these classified documents were in Biden's garage? Was it before the midterms election? Was it after? And what is that gap from when the American people were actually made aware? That is the timeline, something that I think the new oversight Chairman Comer, can look into and really try to understand. The second question it gets to what your earlier guests were talking about is, the American people desire that the DOJ, the FBI, Biden's White House, that they not politicize law enforcement against the American people. Are we seeing that again with how they're handling Biden's classified documents in this case?
Yeah, and Jessica, I also want to talk about the White House and its reaction so far. They say they're fully cooperated and they're committed to transparency on this matter. But do you think they are being transparent? I mean, it seems there are a lot of reporters asking a lot of questions, but not really getting any answers.
Well, you would certainly know that the White House was being transparent if they were actually able to answer the questions on the press stump at the daily briefing. As we saw earlier today, that was not the case. The press secretary was effusive in refusing to answer many reporters' questions about the timeline, the handling of the documents. Are there any more? What actually prompted the search in the first place? And then what now is the role of the White House going to be with the Republican-led Oversight Committee? Is it going to be one of support and cooperation, or are they going to hide the ball and hide things at the DOJ? I think those are the types of questions that the American people are demanding that we know. It's very simple. Is the president following the law, yes or no?
Yeah, and also the timing of all this. It's really interesting, right? Just last week, there was a lot of talk of President Biden announcing plans for a 2024 run. Where do you think things stand right now? I mean, do you think he and his team are reassessing? Do you think the Democrats want him to run at this point? And do you think he's a liability?
Well, I think anytime that you have a situation like this happen, playing out behind closed doors, it actually forces the American people to think twice about who their highest leader of the land is. Can they actually trust the president of the United States to follow the law and to actually abide by the laws that are around such sensitive things as our national security and our homeland security? When those things are not being done, Tracy, I think that's when you have the American people really question the legitimacy of this president. And so if I was advising the Biden team, I would be thinking twice about a 2024 run. I would also be thinking about ways to make sure that my own house is in order before I hit that campaign trail and started poking holes in Republicans across the aisle.
I want to switch gears now, Jessica. We're just days away from the March for Life. And now that we're living in a post-Roe country, I'm wondering what more work you think needs to be done on the pro-life front, and where do we go from here?
That's a great question, Tracy. And I think all pro-life Americans this week in particular are thrilled that we can come to Washington, D.C. and we can march in the streets in an act of celebration. But the work to protect life is actually far from over. And we're going to see this play out both in state legislative cycles all across the country as state legislatures begin to take up really important pro-life legislation like the heartbeat bill, life at conception, patient conscious protection acts. All of these bills in state chambers. And then federally, the new Republican-led House is off to a great start. They've already passed the Born Alive Infant Survivors Protection Act. It passed last week. I expect this to be one of many pro-life federal pieces of legislation that this new Congress is going to have to grapple with, and the House is hopefully going to pass, including defunding Planned Parenthood and hopefully a heartbeat bill as well. So much more to come on the life front. And this week's celebration is just step one.
And Jessica, we have probably a little less than a minute left or so, but quickly, what else are you following?
Well, I also think as all of these state legislative sessions open across the country, keep an eye out for those gender-affirming bills that state legislators are popping up. Keep an eye out at also pro-family legislation that's moving through chambers in Florida and Georgia and other places across the country. It's going to be a big year for all of us that want to put faith and family first, and certainly all of us pro-lifers across America.
And Jessica, always great to get your insights and to be with you. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.